trying to answer could be, what do you do when you go to an event, decided to meet people you don't know, and who, potentially, can help you achieve your personal and professional goals? Although simple, this is the wrong approach. It is too egocentric, and in a society that information travels fast, focusing only on you will soon make you known for it. Being self-centered is not just ethically wrong, it is just not working anymore. So the question is actually a little bit different. How can you build the foundations of a meaningful, win-win relations during events? And this is the question we are going to answer. It's a little bit different. It looks more in the long term, and it doesn't focus only on you, but it focuses on creating value for everybody. Just a word of advice before we start. We are going to discuss many tips and techniques. What I want you to do is basically to find the ones that fit your personality more and go out and have fun with them. Sometimes they're going to work, sometimes they're not. But there is nothing more enjoyable than to have a person around who is having fun. All I want is to help you transform the way you see daily interactions. The first thing we need to understand, in order to understand daily interactions, are the barriers. Basically, whenever you're going to approach a person, you have to overcome two barriers. The first barrier is actually getting you listened by him, managing to talk to that person, or send an email and have that person read your email. This is the first barrier, managing to be listened to, manage to talk to that person. The second barrier is a little bit more difficult. What you're trying to achieve there is actually to get into the head and the heart of that person. You want to convince that person that you're a person worth listening to. These are the two barriers. And what I want you to do from now on is basically analyze every situation that you are into in terms of these barriers. I'll share an example with you. Imagine that you are in an event that's called, for example, networking drinks. Just the name of the event has already set the frame. Everybody there is expecting to network. Everybody there is really open to new conversations. What that means is that the first barrier is low, which means that you don't need to put a lot of effort to actually start talking with someone. What happens with the second barrier? Usually in the beginning of that event, the second barrier is also relatively low. People are willing to listen to you. People are willing to discuss more details about what you're doing. But as the time passes, the night comes, people get more tired, they already had a lot of conversations. The second barrier is going higher and higher. Another example could be the main speakers in an event. Imagine that you want to talk with that very specific person who is a speaker in the event. The situation is very simple. Everybody wants to talk with that person. What that means, that he will be in the middle and he will have 20 people around him. Immediately you realize that the first barrier, managing to talk to that person, is really high during that event. Let's think about the second barrier. To have so many people around him, he knows that everybody wants to talk with him. That immediately puts him in a position of power to select only the most interesting ideas. That means that the competition is high. Basically, your second barrier is also really high. Maybe that means that it's not the right time to approach that person. Maybe you can find another way in an environment that doesn't have the barrier so high in order to approach him. Or maybe you need to find a way to trick the barriers. A simple trick that I've used many times basically involves taking a small note, writing exactly what you were going to tell him in 2 or 3 sentences, your value, getting through the crowd, approaching him and telling, you know what, I see that you're overflowing with people. There are so many people around you. That must be a lot of pressure on you. I just don't want to spend your time. I just want to give you this note. Please, when you have 5 minutes, take a moment and read it. What have you actually done doing that simple movement? You realize the first barrier. It's really difficult to talk with him, and you actually have it. You just need to enter for 20 seconds, give the note, and get out. The second barrier, the person is not going to read the message right away. He's going to read it when he's alone, when he's going away. What that means is that the second barrier is also lower. Basically, you give him a message that he can read in his own time when he feels more comfortable. This is just small examples of how you can use the barriers. In this moment, I want you to think of instances that you didn't manage to create a contact during events. And I would be happy to discuss it during the Q&A session and see how you could have done it better, or what else could you have tried. Now, let's see how can we simplify the initial contact and give a good, strong first impression. To start, I'm only talking about initial contacts with people that you don't already know who they are, and for people that you meet in a physical location. Approaching people that you already know, but they don't know you, or approaching people online is a whole other game with great tools that can help you build those relations. We're going to discuss first body language. Basically, before you enter a conversation between two people, the first thing you need to do is basically observe what is their body language. Imagine that you see two people talking. Should you enter or not? If you see that those two people are looking to each other, the shoulders of the one person are looking to the shoulders of the other person. Their feet, the most honest part of our body, is pointing to the other person. That means that they are engaged in an interesting conversation, and probably you should not enter. But if you see that their shoulders start to look to other directions, away from each other, or their feet are looking towards the door or some other direction, that means that at least one of the people there is probably not enjoying the conversation, and you might be welcome to enter. The second part has to do with the topic identification. A lot of times, when we enter in a conversation, we have no idea what they are talking about. And then we are asking people to actually explain to us, or go back and repeat whatever they said. That doesn't create a good impression. So the first thing I would like to ask you is basically to listen first, if it is possible. Stay close to the team. Identify what they talk about, what they are enthusiastic about. This way, you don't need to ask anyone for what they are talking about, or you don't need to ask them to repeat whatever they were talking about. And then the process is very simple. You need to lead with questions. If a conversation is interesting, then the only thing you need to say is it okay if I join the conversation? It sounds interesting. As simple as that. Is it okay if I join the conversation? It sounds interesting. This does two things. First thing, people like to be interesting. People love to be interesting. So by telling them that what they're discussing is interesting, basically you're telling them that you are interesting. So basically you create the good atmosphere when you enter. The second part is that you put them in the position where they can give approval. You're asking them, can I join you? Everybody likes to be in a position to give approval. And this makes you entering this conversation a welcome visit. Now, I want to insist on a point here. Your goal is to create an environment that allows for open communication. You're not trying to manipulate people. You're trying to connect with them. You're trying to create the right atmosphere so you can actually discuss honestly. In the lead with question part, we have something else that we usually call be the idiot. Basically, a lot of times when we enter conversations, most people are trying to show how smart they are. I'm insisting, lead with questions. Ask the questions that make them excited, not you. They say that people forget 95% of the things you are going to discuss with them, but they always remember how you made them feel. And this is your goal. You want to make them feel good about you. You want to create a nice atmosphere. So ask them about the things that they are excited about. Ask them about the things they want to talk about. They will remember you with a very, very nice feeling. Now, you managed to get the initial contact, and this is great. But how do you make sure that you're welcome? There are a lot of techniques. Again, I invite you to test what works for you and what makes you feel better. Rapport creation is a huge topic, and we're going to discuss just two very small elements. You know that people, as I said, always remember how you made them feel. And it's proven that people feel better in the company of similar people. Think about fans of the same football team, or groups of people that are all dressed the same way. They have a commonality. They like the same thing. They're dressing the same way. That connects them. Whenever you manage to discover a commonality with another person, that gives you one more connection. Discovering commonalities can get you a long way. The more questions you ask, as we mentioned before, the more commonalities you will find out. The more rare the commonalities, the better. Now, a lot of times we believe that the commonalities should be only professional, but usually it's better if they are not. I mean, imagine that you have similar experiences, or you have visited similar locations, or you both have children. That's already something that connects you in a personal level. You might even have the same hobby. You might have common people in your network. These are all commonalities that you can actually leverage on. These are all commonalities that can help you build a stronger relation. And this is what you need. So try to ask as many questions as possible about what other people are doing in order to discover that commonalities and create those connections. For people that are interested in getting a little bit deeper into that, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a great tool. What Maslow did is basically he created a triangle, and at the bottom, he put all the most important and basic needs of people, the survival needs. So food, water, whatever they need to survive. And as you go higher to the pyramid, you actually start seeing more and more needs that are more sophisticated. It has to do with self-fulfillment, with career success. If you look at the pyramid, then you can actually identify 1,000 categories that can actually find connections in. Now, sometimes we are not so good in asking the right questions. Some other times we don't have the time to ask the right questions. So discovering commonalities can take you a long way, but if you don't have these resources of good questions and time in your hands, maybe you should start creating commonalities, because this can get you even further. Now, what do I mean by creating? Basically, science has shown that we connect easier with people that behave similar to the way we do. How do we take that to our advantage in order to create an environment of open communication? There are three basic techniques that we can use. The first one is called mirroring. Mirroring is very simple. You just are mirroring the movements of the other person. If he's sitting relaxed, you're sitting relaxed. If he's sitting back, you're sitting back. If you're sitting forward, interested in what you're saying, you're sitting forward too. This way, the brain sees the similarity and actually creates a connection. I invite you to start playing with that in the beginning with friends to see how you can actually do it. I want you to be careful not to overdo it, of course, but try to be subtle and try to do it for a couple of times. You will be really surprised by how many times and how many things you can actually mirror without people realizing that you're doing it. Pacing. Pacing is basically talking with the same speed of talk as the other person. You know, people that speak really fast, like me, we are used to that. We are talking like that for our whole life. And we are used to hear other people talking fast. We like that. It's a commonality. People that are talking slow are used to talk slow for the whole life. That's again a commonality. So whenever you meet someone, try to find out if you can actually talk with the same speed as they do. That usually makes them feel more comfortable and more relaxed. And this is what you're trying to achieve. Energy. Now, I'm using the word energy in the least technical sense ever. Basically, I'm talking about emotional states. And I want you to imagine the following story. Imagine that you have a baby in front of you. You have many times seen a baby crying. And then you have the mother coming. And the mother is trying to get the attention of the baby. Usually what happens is that the mother starts to talk higher and higher and higher till she gets the attention of the baby. And then, when she has the attention of the baby, then she starts talking lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. You're actually connecting with the person at the same emotional level, so he understands that you understand his state. And then, when you establish that connection, you can actually even control how the rest of the conversation goes. Just by fitting your energy, your emotional state, your level of voice, your speed, your position, you can actually create a lot of commonalities to help the other people feel more comfortable. Now, getting into the trouble of having a good initial contact and of creating the right environment is meaningless unless you succeed in the 3 goals of this conversation. Because if you fail, then you haven't created the conditions to follow up and start building up this relation. So in each conversation, your goal is very simple. First thing you need to do is to identify what is the other person's vision and goals. Basically, what this person wants to achieve in life. It might be professional, about his career, or it might be personal. Understanding what the other person's vision is a very, very powerful tool. The second part you need to understand is what are the other person's challenges? What are his pains, her difficulties? What are the people that are missing from his network? Maybe he doesn't have time to do what he wants to do. There are a lot of challenges that everybody is facing every day. And there is a reason I'm asking you to understand the vision and the challenges. And the reason is very simple. If you manage to understand the vision and the challenges, then you can actually get to the third level, support. Basically, you can identify the answer to the question, how can I help that person? How can I help? Because if you don't manage to help that person somehow, then you are not differentiating yourself. You're not creating the base for a connection. You're not creating a strong base for a follow-up. How can I help? There are thousands of ways. You might have information on certain topic. You might have articles that you can send to him. You might have some people that you can introduce him to, or you might have a little bit of extra time and you can help him. There are a lot of ways that you can help. So focusing on visions, challenges, and support must be your 3 goals out of each conversation, because this one builds the base for each connection afterwards. You need to be able to send an email and have people actually looking at it, opening it, and responding to you, or giving them a call, and you need to be able to provide value so they can actually give you back a response about that value. Now, let's go to the last part, common mistakes. There are a lot of things that we can say, but if we say them at the wrong moment, we can create the wrong results. What are the common mistakes, the common things that we usually say that can actually destroy our networking efforts? First one, here's my business card. Sometimes it's correct to say it, but giving a business card without being asked to, without someone asking you for that information, it might not be the right deal. If the person hasn't asked you for your contact information, probably he does not want or need it. So do not try to force it. It creates a needy impression. Moreover, probably he will not even remember you. You might as well take 20 cents, the average cost of a business card, out of your pocket and throw it in the garbage. If he hasn't asked for your business card, it's better if you don't give it. Can I have your business card? Asking for contact information without explaining the value to the other person first might be horribly wrong. You are planning to use time by sending an email or call. Are you sure it's valuable for him or her? And most importantly, is he or she sure about that? Do they know you're going to provide some kind of value? So make always sure that you have explained the value before you give your business card or before you ask a business card. Can I have your business card? Number 2. Well, imagine the following scenario. Imagine that you are talking with a person you want to talk. This very important person that you want to have in your network. And this person is surrounded by 5, 10 other people, all of them willing to talk. But you manage to sneak in. You manage to actually get his attention. Probably he likes you a lot. You're like, okay, this is the time to take the contact information. By asking that question in front of everybody, you probably are doing a big mistake. First reason, imagine that the person do like you. Imagine that he wants to give you his business card, and he does. And then people from around start asking, oh, can I have also your business card? you're actually putting him in a very difficult position. He was feeling well about you, and now he's starting to feel bad because of you. Because he might not want to give his business card to all these people. He doesn't know them. He doesn't know the value. Why should he? And then he might be forced, because of the social pressure, to give the card, or you might have to deny in front of everybody. Again, feeling bad. Now imagine that he doesn't even like you. Then again, you're putting him in a difficult situation. You're making your relation even worse. That person doesn't like you, but now he has the social pressure from all the people looking around, and he might give you the business card just for that reason. Or he might just say no. And again, you look bad, he looks bad. And let's go to the next one, my favorite. So I need start talking about what you need before identifying what the other person needs. Has to be avoided. Remember, the first contact is not to ask for the things you need. The first contact is to build the foundation of the relationship. The goal is to create a relation that will allow you to communicate with the other person again in good terms. If you don't manage to do that, then it doesn't matter if he knows what you need. Again, knowing what you need, hearing you, managing to talk with the right person is what we called before the first barrier. But if you create a foundation for a relation, then everything else is secondary. You don't even need to ask for the contact information. I mean, we live in a digital era. If you go to rocketreach.com, you can actually put the LinkedIn link of the person you want to talk to, and you search all around the internet to give you the emails. And a lot of times you get personal emails and professional emails. You don't need to ask for it. You can find it. If you go to hunter.com and you just put the company's extension, let's say, for example, whatever, Microsoft, EDP.com, it gives you all email addresses of the employees of that company that are available or have been used in public web pages. By the way, if you work in a company, I just invite you to just put your email extension and find out if your email is visible. The web page was hunter.co. And then at the end of the day, you just have the plain old LinkedIn, right? Even if you're not in contact with a person you want to talk to, the only thing you need to do is to join a group that that contact belongs to. Because LinkedIn allows you to contact them by email for free, even if you're not personal contacts, just because you belong in the same group. The only thing you need to do is just go to the members list of that group, and while hovering the mouse over the person's profile, you just see the option to send an email. It will appear. You can contact almost anybody. What you need is not the contact information. What you need is the right reason for him or her to answer. And now let's go to the last one. A lot of people are getting really excited about networking. They go to an event and they are trying to meet as many people as possible. So they finish with the one and then they go to the other one. This is the one. He's done. Where is the next one? He's done. Let's go to the other one. Although meeting a lot of people can bring you a lot of opportunities if you create the right relations, I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend is to always stop for a minute after each conversation with a person and write things down. Write things down, write everything you remember. And most importantly, I invite you all to start trying that the next days after each conversation you have, to ask yourself and to write down, do I know what the other person tries to achieve? The vision and the goal? Write it down. It might be on your mobile, it might be in a notepad, it might be over his or her business card. Just write it down. What are his challenges? Write it down. It's important because those information will actually help you to find a way to help him or her. So write down, do I know how can I help that person? If you have some ideas, just throw them in there. And then keep them with you and revisit them after the event.